Hi, this is AJ with Effect Radio, and I'm excited to have with me our Artist of the Month, Remedy Drive. Hello and welcome, David.
It's good to be here, AJ. Thanks for having me on the program.
Yeah, it's great to have you, and it's great to support you guys and what you do. And for our listeners, a little backstory of Remedy Drive. You guys have been on the Effect for many years, but I'm just curious if you could tell our listeners why the name Remedy Drive.
We wrote a song. I was in high school at the time called Remedy, and it was just this idea that there needs to be some sort of substance in life beyond what the usual suspects are. And I wrote a song called Remedy. Then we called the band Remedy for a while, and then added Drive on eventually.
All right, that's good to know. So, going back to your beginnings, when did you guys start out? What made you start out as a band?
I started writing songs in high school, and I liked playing them at talent shows, and then in college we started playing a little bit more. We'd play free shows on the quad of University of Nebraska Lincoln. We're actually playing there this month as well, which is fun to go back to where it all started. But I just loved music. Music had impacted me in so many ways. Music speaks to my soul in a very unique way, and to be able to make music also helps process and helps. For me, I thought it was mainly something I was doing for myself because I wanted to create, and then people started listening and singing along, which is why we ended up going full time right after college.
Some great history. So, speaking of shows, I see that you guys are going to be hitting the road here shortly. Can you tell us a little bit about those upcoming concerts and how our listeners can either book you for their local events or find out where you'll be?
Yeah, we're playing. We're only playing about 5 concerts a month right now. Going back to Nebraska is fun because um, everybody complains about Nebraska being too flat, but I think Nebraska is really beautiful to drive through. So we're playing in North Platte and Lincoln, and then we're playing in Mattoon, Illinois. I'm speaking at the university about the band's counter-trafficking work. Uh, People are booking us in all sorts of different ways. Like when we're traveling through, we love playing larger shows and festivals. We're playing a lot of festivals this summer, but we're also playing a lot of living room concerts or back porch concerts. So people that want to have us play for a small group of friends and talk about, yeah, have a more intimate gathering where we can talk more about what the music's about. Those have been really fun for me.
Yeah, since COVID, it seems like that has been a big thing around even here, having those smaller
Yeah.
coffee shop tours or whatnot. So that's fun. Your website, is that the best way to reach you if somebody's interested in hosting a concert?
Yeah, there's a contact on the website, or you can email Anna, ANNA, at remedydrive.com.
All right, perfect. Now, your album that came out last fall, titled Scars to Prove It, could you tell us a little bit about that album?
I love this album. I, for the first time, because my son was playing football his last year of high school, I had a lot of extra time to. We took the fall off from touring, so it was the first time I ever recorded. You can see my studio back here. We took out all the furniture and had the drums right where I'm sitting. And Timmy Jones came in and played the drums. And then I did the vocals. I set up a makeshift vocal booth, and then I mixed the album for the first time. And the album's special to me because um, my son grew up traveling all over the country with us in the bus, and preparing for him to leave for college was a lot of the emotion that was in the album. A lot of what it's like to be wounded by your kids, specifically my wife with the cesarean, and that scar she has for the rest of her life from that kid. And that's kind of where I got the original concept for the song Scars to Prove It. But it was a special album to make here at my house rather than in a professional studio, and just making music with my friends who have been all over the world with me. as we went together to watch my son play football. That's the backdrop of the recording process.
Do you have a favorite song off that album?
Yeah, for sure. Scars is my favorite. Um, and that one leans into some of the feelings you have as a dad when your daughter hits a certain age, like 14 years old, 15 years old, and starts kind of pulling away a little bit. Parents I know have experienced that. But then another song that's actually doing good at radio right now, which we never sent it to radio, is a song called "Cover Me" that I wrote with Toby Mac and my brother Paul.
So you are a dad of one in college and then another one that's a teenager. Do you have any advice for people that are becoming parents?
For being a dad of teenagers, I have two daughters at home with me now. They're
Okay.
14 and 17. I 10 days before the school play got a message a few weeks ago about learning all the guitar parts for Mamma Mia because my daughter Ava's in Mamma Mia. And that was so special that I got to learn all those parts and be part of, being in the pit with the other musicians while she's on stage, which I just happened not to have any concerts in March, so I was able to do it. But being there for them, not taking them personally, even though they act like adults, they're not adults, even though they're tall. And even when my son had a deep voice, their brains aren't fully developed, and it's hard to give them the benefit of the doubt and to not take the stupid things they say personally. I think the biggest thing as a dad I've learned is I know that there's going to be things that it's so annoying you only get one shot and you look back 5 years ago and you're like, man, I wish I would have done that differently. And I just tell them that. And I wish it seems it seems like such a small thing, but just telling my kids on a regular basis, I didn't do that the way I wish I could have. Please forgive me. I'm doing my best. Uh, and letting them be critical of me, I think, is really important. Just waiting for when they have something they're going through. Like it's such a privilege that they would even trust me with the situations in their lives that they're going through, but not being forceful and questioning, or kids feel interrogated all the time. But just when they have something that they want some help walking through, just to be there and be ready when that time comes. That's that's all I know.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good advice. Be there for your kids, and we don't have it all together as parents. I'm a parent too. Mine are younger than yours, so maybe that advice was more for me, like what to expect when the teenage years hit. I have
And
a
that's
preteen
AJ.
daughter.
That's something I wish I would have like leaned into parents that had older kids when my kids were preteen, because then I would have kind of been able to prepare to get punched in the face a little more, because it is like this moment,
Yeah.
and like leaning into parents that have gone through things, even in practical matters, like I wish I would have invested more into ACT prep classes for Jack, but then we learned with Jack, so now we're doing it with Ava,
There you go.
things like that.
We learn with the oldest, right? Um, so, on another thing that you guys are really passionate about as a band, and this is what I love, is that your work behind human trafficking and how we can support you guys in that. You also talked about in June you're launching something new. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So for 11 years, we left the comfort of our record label 11 years ago to go independent and to make a trilogy of albums, the three that preceded this most recent one: Commodity, North Star, Imago Amor. Those three albums are all focused on modern day abolition efforts, fighting against human trafficking, exploitation. And I've been all over the world with organizations that spy on criminal networks that are selling kids into brothels or into labor trafficking. I've joined teams using cyber forensics gear and spy cameras to find evidence of trafficking. And in doing that, I've gotten real close to some of the survivors and victims of trafficking. I know her story. I know that she didn't want to be here in this club. She wanted to be doing something else with her life, but by some awful collision of circumstances, these girls that I meet in the undercover environment when I'm pretending to be a customer, because I look like a lot of the customers when I do this work. And so we've tried to tell her story with dignity, the story of someone's child that's been coerced into this awful trade. And our fan base has raised millions of dollars to fight against this in donations, in-kind donations. And we've helped contribute to the freedom so far of over 5,000 survivors of trafficking. Some of that is sex trafficking, some of that is labor trafficking. Recently, a lot of success with the organizations we're partnering with in raiding scamming compounds on some of the borders of Myanmar and Thailand and Cambodia and Vietnam. People that get kidnapped and forced into call centers where they're forced to call people. They're tortured, they're behind barbed wire. And we're helping raid some of those places. And then the band's fan base helps us participate in funding aftercare, trauma therapy, trauma-informed therapy, sometimes it's art therapy, to give survivors of trafficking a future transitional employment. If they need to get repatriated, that can be a complicated, expensive process to get someone back to their home country, reunited with their loved ones. And so our fan base and our community has been alongside us this whole time. So we're formally organizing, and we're launching in June. We're building up to that right now. To find out more, we put a page on our website, remedydrive.com/action, to celebrate the ways people have pitched in, but also to give new people a chance to join us in some capacity.
That's great. So the best way if somebody wants to support you now is to go to your website. But I also noticed you have like different products that you guys sell. You have an online
Yeah.
store and stuff like that. So are those all good options to help support you guys?
Yeah, if you go Remedy Drive /action, but also Remedy Drive /store,
Okay.
you'll see that all of our T-shirts are made by survivors of trafficking, and there's those elephant pants and jewelry and kimonos, all sorts of fun items. We used to have kind of a rock and roll store, but if you come to our concerts, it looks a lot more like a women's boutique, which is pretty fun now too.
I think I might need to go shopping. I think I'm writing that down. I'm gonna go shopping after this, and then it's for a good cause, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's awesome. I love that. So back to you talked about when you started Remedy Drive. Was there a certain person or band that inspired you back when you started out?
Early Keith Green. Do you know him at all?
Yes, yeah. We actually have a Throwback Thursday here on the
Oh,
Effect, and
fun.
we go way back, all the way, Randy Stonehill,
Yeah.
Larry Norman, all of that on Throwback Thursdays. We go way, way back. So yeah, we are familiar with.
Probably his least radio friendly song because it's so long, the Prodigal Son Suite.
Okay,
Man, I love that one. My mom would play it on vinyl.
that's great.
But I wasn't allowed to listen to rock and roll as a kid. So Mannheim Steamroller, a lot of people just know them from their Christmas music, but I loved their really an interesting synth meets kind of minstrel mentality. And they're from Omaha. My dad sold insurance to the piano player for a while. So they had a big impact on me early on. But then Bono from the band U2, and the
Hmm.
way he talks about the ability to impact people with art and use the currency of our lives, the currency, he called it the currency of his celebrity to do good in the world, is what really inspired me to use the platform we have with our music, with our songs, to spend that currency on behalf of the poor and the oppressed, which came directly inspired by some of the poetry of the prophet Isaiah and Amos. Isaiah says, "If you spend yourself on behalf of the oppressed, then your light will rise like the noonday." And those prophets and their poetry plays a big role in my lyric writing.
I can't tell you how often I've asked different artists that, and it's something to do with what their mom listened to when they were
Interesting.
kids.
Wow.
Take note, moms out there. What your kids are listening to now might inspire them for the future.
Yeah.
So listen to Effect Radio. There you go. So when you are out on the road, this is a little bit on a lighter note. When you're out on the road, like you said, going to Nebraska and stuff, do you have like a favorite fast food restaurant or go to for food? Are you like a smoothie person, or do you hit up the local McDonald's? What's your go to when you're out on the road?
I don't ever have fast food, which complicates tour life.
Oh yes, yeah.
People are really, really, really hospitable to us. We get a lot of home cooked food, which is fun.
Oh yes.
But if we're driving through fast, uh, Dave Mohr has my credit card on his Chipotle app. So he'll order Chipotle ahead of time so we can just pick it up. I love stopping by. Like if I'm gonna spend money on food, I want to generally find ethnic food, whether it's Indian or Thai
Oh yes.
or Vietnamese. I like and Middle Eastern, especially. So we're always looking for those places. And that's the fun thing about traveling. You know, you can find little gems around the country.
Yeah, and typically, when people can leave reviews now, you can
Yeah,
usually sort through and figure out which one will be good based on the reviews. And sometimes those hole in the wall restaurants are the very best, the local
yeah.
secrets, right? So the best way for our listeners to reach you, we already covered, was to hit you up on your website, and it's just remedydrive.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So as we round out this interview, I just want to ask you, what is one message that you would like to leave with all our listeners?
My theme that I try to remind myself and anybody that hears us lately is the idea that seemingly insignificant actions in the direction of justice and mercy matter, even when it seems like they don't matter. So, your small contribution to somebody else's life, if you're helping us rescue people out of trafficking, or if you are, doing the most heroic thing in the world that anybody can do, and that's foster care, it doesn't seem like it matters most of the time. It seems really small, probably as small as it seemed for a kid that had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And when there's a whole hillside of thousands of people that are hungry, he came up and said, "What about my lunch? Can my lunch help solve this problem?" And the answer is always yes, because in some miraculous way, that contribution that you have that nobody else has, the currency of your life, your skill sets, your art, your creativity, that currency, the currency of your time, what you bring matters because it's lifted up somehow and blessed and multiplied in a miraculous way that we'll never see. The ripples that you create are going to turn to tidal waves as we join this rising tide of ordinary people who believe that the good news is truly what Isaiah said it would be, and that's good news to people that are poor, freedom to people that are enslaved, a restoration of dignity to those that are oppressed and downtrodden. And rather than be cynical and not believe that it matters, which is easy to do, I'm there a lot of the time. True faith, at least according to Isaiah, Jesus' half brother James, to know the Creator, according to Jeremiah, who said he took the cause of the oppressed. Isn't that what it means to know me, says the Lord God Almighty? Somehow it's all tied together. Taking the cause of oppressed people is to know, to see the face of the Creator. And so that's what I got.
I love that. Well, we can't put a dollar amount on our time. And a lot of times with, serving in your local church, your local food bank, supporting you guys financially or in prayer, that is time that is well spent, and you can't put a dollar amount on that. So we appreciate the listeners that do choose to support artists like you guys that we are able to play on our radio network.
And playing us is a big part of supporting us, and we're really thankful for that, AJ.
Absolutely. We appreciate, I have to be honest, I was sleeping on your new album that was released last fall. And when I saw it, I was very excited to see that you guys had that album last fall. I
Yeah,
was I was a little delayed getting it on the radio network, but we are spinning several songs off of it, including
thank you.
Scars. And so
Yeah.
we appreciate you guys and keep doing what you're doing.